What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get down into another episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's Ruthless, alright? But before we get into this episode breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shiznit that's going down right here. So the episode that we're going to talk about tonight is Season 4, Episode number 9, titled Wicked Intentions. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this synopsis. So it states that Aaron makes a desperate attempt to bribe the highest. Joan tries to keep Zane out of trouble. Ruth catches George in a compromising position, and the FBI decides to pay the Raku a visit. That's all we got. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, y'all, so we start this episode off exactly where we left off, in the kitchen, waiting on Marva, who we better know as the Elder Mother, right? Or the Elder Mother Supreme, right? So we're waiting on her to show up, and oh boy, Aaron has now snuck over to try to persuade his wife, Laura, to leave. Like, let's get the heck up out of Dodge, right? But while he's in the midst of trying to convince her to get up out of the compound, the highest shows up. So that's where we are now. So the highest is there. He's like, what are you doing here? And Aaron is like, hey, we trying to get gone. And the highest is like, but she don't want to go nowhere. And Aaron's like, yeah, but I'm here to tell her, look, we need to get up out. So the highest is like, but you're not going nowhere. And he was like, yes, we are. And he was like, what did you give her? He was like, I didn't give her anything. I just gave her love. And so Aaron is like, no, I going back to his profession, like he knows when people have been given something or not. So the highest is like, look, she's not going anywhere. And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and show you. So Aaron is still, not persuaded. And he was like, look, I just want to take my wife and get gone. Like, I got money. He was like, do you think we don't have money already? Like, bro, you the least of my concerns right now. As a matter of fact, let me blow this red shit in your face. And all of a sudden, Aaron is out like a light. So the highest calls in Lewis and George to carry his ass to the cooler, right? So Laura is sitting there like, I'm glad you did that. Like, she's good with it, and she's waiting there for her dinner like nothing has transpired here. So Aaron has officially lost his woman, y'all. So from there, when he calls them in, they take Aaron out. The elder mother finally shows up. And the highest is like, well, what took you so long? She was like, well, your highest, it takes me a lot longer to travel, So, she's gotten a lot older. So as she travels alone, it takes her a little bit longer, but she finally shows up. And he asked her to go ahead and make her, her ceremony plate, after the ceremony has gone down. So from there, we see the highest leave the trailer, and we see him meet up with Dikahn. Now, when the highest meets up with Dikahn tells the highest that he's uncomfortable with the money being where it is, like right now. And he says that he doesn't trust the people that's in the compound. And the highest is like, why are you so concerned? Like, why are you so worried? Not knowing that he has not told him all the information that he needs to know about River, trying to get into the safe over at the finance trailer. So he doesn't want the highest to be pissed off at him with that. So instead of doing all of that, he just says, well, what if something happens? What if there's a fire or the FBI comes in here? And the highest is like, look, we don't even have to worry about that shit too much longer. And the highest tells him that they're going to be gone in 3 days. I was like, what the hell? Like, bro. Like, nobody knows shit but the highest, and in 3 days we're gonna be gone, right? So Dikahn is like, hold on, well, okay, if we're gonna do that, then let me go ahead and purchase a safe so I can make sure a brand new safe. Let me send some men down there to go get a brand new safe so we can make sure that the money stays safe. So he persuades the highest to do such. So he was like, okay, go ahead and do it. He also tells him that he actually heard from Andrew, and that Andrew pretty much conveyed to him that everything was done exactly, like he told him it would be done, right? And Dikahn also tells him that with the deputy, he took care of the deputy, but he did not share with the highest that the deputy was not dead. He pretty much just said that the deputy was taken care of, not alluding to the fact that the deputy is still alive. So that's someone that can identify, that can throw a monkey wrench into the plan of the highest at this time. So Dikahn is still withholding information from the highest. All right. So I'm wondering how this is going to come out in the end. All right. So from there, the highest is going to check on Malcolm because, previously he gave him some of that magic previously. So he wants to go check and see if he's still in the land of the living or whatnot. Because if he is, then we are good. If he's not, then we're not good. If you understand what I'm saying. So from there, Dikahn places additional men to, pretty much guard the highest trailer to make sure nothing goes down. So from there, we see River and Zane. So they meet up and River is like, what's going on? Zane is like, look, I'm getting ready to take some food over here to Lacey. And River's like, hold on, you might need to hold off on that because you don't want to get caught. She was like, no, I'm getting ready to go in there and give her something to eat. Now, Zane, I can understand that she's passionate about, taking care of her friend. She's happy to see her alive and shit like that. But at the same time, she has to slow her roll. Let me say that again. Zane, please slow your roll because if you're not careful, you're going to end up getting caught. Typically, that's how people end up getting caught. They start doing too much too soon, too fast. And the next thing you know, you're in a punishment trailer. I'm just saying, Zane, I can predict. I'm not a fortune teller, but I guarantee you I can predict what your future is about to be if you don't slow down. But anyhow, while they're finishing off their conversation, Joan notices, Zane, leaving off quickly, right? So she comes over to ask River what's going on, where is she going, whoop, whoop, whoop. Well, River pretty much tells her that she's going to see Lacey, and she was like, what is she doing? She's going to mess it up for everybody. And I'm like, right, Joan, she just needs to calm down and slow her roll. But anyhow, getting back to their conversation, River pretty much tells Joan everything that went down with the money. He proceeds to ask her about, a safe or potential safe being in the highest trailer. And she says she has no knowledge of a safe being inside of his trailer at this time. So she's like, well, do you know where they put it? And he conveys to her that Dikahn did not allow him to see where they placed the money. So, of course, that's an issue all in itself, right? So she says, well, we need to figure out a plan. And we're going to use you as his toy, if you already know what I mean, to go in there and figure out what needs to be done to figure out where the money is, right? And he was like, okay, well, I need you to do something for me as well. She was like, what is that? And he was like, I need you to babysit Zane. Essentially, that's pretty much what River is asking, Joan to do. And she was like, what? Like, if you want me to do what you're asking me to do, Joan, then I need you to do this for us as well. So she agrees to that. So anyhow, going on from there, we see the highest is now walking over to Manny. So, Manny all this daggone time has been talking about he wants to be enlightened. He wants to know what it feels like to be enlightened so he can marry Zane, right? So now the point in time has now finally came for Manny finally to be enlightened. So now that he knows what it is, now he don't want it. Now he doesn't want it. So now when the highest comes up on him, he was like, Manny, and he's asking him all of these questions and whatnot. And now Manny is looking at him like, yes, your highest. And he was like, yeah, I think it's time that we had that talk. And so Manny is now looking like, yeah. So now, now Lewis, let me get myself together. Now Lewis and George are now looking from the pavilion. And they was like, oh, we about to see what's about to go down. And Lewis is like, yeah, he about to go in there and take it. You know what I'm saying? But George is still confident that he's still down for the cause, right? But the homie Lewis don't believe that shit. Like, he like, no, I think he gun ho, brother. But So anyhow, what goes down, he said, you want to bet on it? And of course, George is like, no. So while they're still in the middle of their conversation, River pops up out of nowhere because his job is to find out where the kids are. That's pretty much his job right now. So when he walks in on the conversation, Lewis is like, what you want? You only talk to us when you want something from me. Like, is that what you want, right? So then they get into River's entanglement with the highest, right? So he was like, what are you guys talking about? So he's noticing the conversation is shifting towards him. So he was like, do you got something you need to tell me? Something that you are implying right now? So of course Lewis is like, no. But he says, I do hear the moaning and all of that stuff, like you're in pain and stuff like that. And then, River. So River is like, oh, well, we like to practice martial arts. Is that what we're calling it now? Martial arts? So at this point, River's like, no, you got something to get off your chest, Brother Lewis. And he was like, no, I'm good. So, of course, River's feeling some type of way. So he was like, well, this is what you can do for me right now. Go ahead and tell me where the husband is, Aaron. And they was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, I know that you guys took Aaron somewhere. And he was like, well, we took him where the highest told us to take him. And then he was like, okay, where are the children? So, of course, at this time, neither George or Lewis are opening their mouth. So River might as well just leave this alone. This is a closed case. So he decides to leave, right? So from there, George and Lewis continue their conversation, like what's going on in the trailer. Like, do you think he really getting F down off it? So they said, we're going to find out. Like, we're going to see when he comes up out of there. Now, you already know Manny already got a limp. So, I don't know how you'll be able to tell physically, but I guess we'll find out shortly, right? So now we get inside of the trailer with the highest, and now the highest is asking Manny all of these questions about being enlightened. Do you think you're ready? I'm gonna let you know when the ceremony is going to take place. So now Manny is asking the highest all of these questions, like but before we get into all of those questions, the highest is like, okay, well, if you've been cleansed, like if you believe and all this stuff, whoop, 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 then you've been cleansed, right? So from there, the highest is like, well, we'll let you know when the ritual is going to go down. So now Manny is like, what's going to take place? Like, how does the process go? So now the highest is like, you don't trust, like, you don't really believe, like, you got all these daggone questions. But he was like, it's about blind faith. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what type of blind faith are we talking about? The highest, like, so the highest is like, oh, I don't think you're ready. And he gets pissed off. He gets pissed off at Manny because he feels that Manny isn't ready to be, plunged into. I'm like, hold on, bro. Like, I'm the one that's going through this, not you. So Manny finally makes his way back outside. And, of course, George and Lewis are standing there like, okay, let's see how he looks when he walks out. So they said, I don't know. George is like, I don't know. I don't think he went for it. And he still believes that Manny is still with him. So from there, we see Ruth, who is standing back in the back, low-key, checking everything out. And then we see Bridget, Sister Bridget, who was hard-ass, a few episodes ago, who was talking hard at Ruth. Now she over there giving old brother the eye. What brother are we talking about? We're talking about Brother Lewis himself, right? So Brother Lewis is giving her an eye back. And George says, hey, don't get caught, bro. And Lewis is like, who you talking to, bro? It's me. And I was like, shit. So Ruth done seen all of this. So while she's getting ready to come up on him, like she's trying to follow suit, because Lewis leaves the pavilion and then he follows suit behind Bridget, right? Or let me call her Sister Bridget. So then while Ruth is trying to head over there to where they are, here comes blocking River, right? So River shows up and he was like, Ruth. And she was like, what? Why are you always around me? Like, what's going on? Why are you always in my business? And he says, if you're looking for the kids, Joan is already on it. She was like, huh? And he was like, look, she's going to go ask the elder mother what's going down. She was like, well, I don't trust that shit. Like, why do you think she's going to tell her? Well, he was like, well, she has a far better chance than finding out than your ass does. Like, and I agree. Like, Joan has a relationship with the elder mother that Ruth obviously does not have. So just give her a chance, as River has stated. So she's like, okay. So from there, she's like, well, why would he just take them away without telling anybody? And what if he hurt them? But River reassures her pretty much that the highest is not going to do anything to the kids because the kids are the shield for the compound. So, of course, Ruth is like, how in the hell did we get wrapped up into this shit? And he was like, well, we were all messed up when we got here. And he was like, even you right now. And she was like, well, even though they are effing me, I'm effing them back. So if they not careful, I'm going to go back to my old ways. I was like, what the hell, Ruth? Like, what you been doing? Like, you were far worse than what you are now? I was like, okay. So he was like, I need you to be patient, and I need you to just hold on. So then Sister Ruth looks at him like, the hell you didn't? Like, weren't you the one that tried to kill this? And he was like, yeah, I grew impatient at that time, but I got myself together. No, Negro, she aided you in your time of need. She revived him. That's what happened. You got weak, it is what it is, but don't sit up here and throw, Ruth under the bus like she's the problem. You were a problem at one time as well. So Ruth goes off because he still has to go over there to that, that situation, and we'll talk about that in a moment, right? So then we see Zane as coming off into the infirmary, right, with a plate of food and that water once again. Hopefully she has learned her lesson, y'all. So anyway, when she comes in, Lacey's laid out with her red outfit on, her red jumpsuit. So she was like, well, I brought you some food. And she was like, well, are you okay? And Lacey's like... And she was like, well, what's going on, Lacey? And she was like, she's going to let the man arm me, and they going to get me. And she was like, that's not going to happen, Lacey. She says, now look, we're not going to be here for another 7 weeks. Like, she's trying to tell her, reassure her, like, this shit ain't going to happen to you. You're going to be all right. All I can do is come get you when it's time to go. So Lacey's like, well, that sounds good, but what's the plan? Zane is like, well, I can't tell you right now. What the hell? Like, if you're telling me, you're trying to reassure me that something is about to go down, we're going to get up out of this piece, and you sit up here telling me, well, I need you to be patient. Well, hell, I need you to tell me what's going on. All right? So from there, we see Lacey laying back because now they hear noise coming into the trailer. So Zane tries to hide over in the corner, and Lacey lays back with the plate of food right next to her, right? So I'm like, hell nah. So Sister Joan comes in. So she comes in creeping in. She was like, these fools right here. So she was like, you can bring your ass on up out of here. Come on now. So anyhow, she was like, I know you back there. So Zane is still trying to hide. And she was like, look, Lacey, I need you to calm down. We're all in this together. You have to trust me. And then Lacey is looking at her like, hell to the no. Like, you were the one that sent me off to be with all these folks. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And Joan is like, look, I don't want no problems. Like, I don't want anybody in this room to get caught by the elder mother. All right? So she says, Zane, get your ass up out here now so we can get up out of here. And she said, get this plate. Let's go. Because you do not want to get caught in this situation. So from there, Joan walks out with Zane, and she was like, look, you cannot let them see you. So Zane is like, yes, I know, but she's still not being patient. So while she's still sitting there talking with Joan, the elder mother comes out, and she was like, girl. She was like, where have you been? And she was like, oh, I had her run an errand for me, elder mother. And she was like, okay, well, I need her in the kitchen. Or, you know how she talks. So anyhow, she goes over and talks to Joan, and while Zane is leaving, she was like, what did you have her doing? So, of course, Joan says, oh, I had her doing something for Dikahn. Now, you know that the elder mother cares nothing about Dikahn, so that left a bad taste in her mouth. Anyhow, Joan proceeds to go on and question, the elder mother a little bit about where are the kids. She was like, oh, it's so quiet here. Like, where are the kids? So the elder mother goes on to tell her that, they left with some of the other elder mothers, but she doesn't know specifically where they went. She just knows that they left. That's all that she knows. So the elder mother, after answering that, she said, now me have to go check on me patient. And she was like, what patient are you talking about? She was like, oh, would that be Lacey? And she was like, oh, yes, she's going to be a good miracle to me. The raccoon, he saved her for me. I don't know about y'all, but the elder mother is getting worse and worse every episode. I mean, I'm loving it, but I'm like, damn, she is ruthless for real. Ruthless should be about Marva and not about Ruth. I'm just saying, I don't know who's the worst. But anyhow, so now we head over to, the boom boom room where we see Lewis and Sister Bridget, almighty Bridget, right? So now they in there getting it on, and Ruth walks up in that piece. And here comes Sister Bridget with her apology to her. I'm sorry. She was like, no. Please don't tell the highs. She was like, I ain't trying to hear that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So she was like, don't pick up a gun unless you're going to pull it on me. And that's how I feel, man. Don't pull no gun on me unless you're going to kill me. Because if you don't kill me, I'm telling you now, you're going to be a dead one. I'm going to just go ahead and tell you that. If you ever see me in person, that's what it's going to be. Anyhow, man. So he was like, well, I'm sorry. And she was like, please don't tell the highest. Please don't tell the highest. So anyhow, Bridget's like, please don't tell him because, I've heard what he made others do. Like he had them have sex in the middle of the pavilion. And so Ruth is like, well, how long has this shit been going on? And she was like, don't say nothing. So Lewis is like, no. He was like, it's been going on a few months now. And he said, we're in love. We serious about each other. And she was like, really? You know what the highest would do to you? You know what he did to Oliver and Lacey? And he was like, yeah, we know. They know exactly what's about to go down. So Ruth is like, okay, well, tell me where the children are. Sister Bridget is like, he made us get them ready, and they left on the bus with some of their older mothers. That's all I know. So she was like, well, where are they going? She was like, I just told you, I don't know. So now all of a sudden she got open mouth syndrome. Like she can spill everything out. Like nothing is holding back, right? So she was like, well, Brother Lewis, what do you know? He was like, look, I was asleep. I don't know shit that went down. She was like, Negro, please. You already know. He was like, huh? She was like, I've been watching you. She was like, I could smell it on your ass. And he was like, what you talking about? She was like, I know you came from jail. And she was like, you look at these girls around here like a piece of meat. And then you got Sister Bridget up here believing your lies and this, knowing that you getting it on with some other sisters up here on the compound. And he was like, look, I don't even know what you're talking about. But anyhow, Brother Lewis decides to switch it back over on Sister Ruth. He was like, I see how you and Dikahn be working it out, how you got him wrapped around your fingers or whatnot. I even saw you go into his trailer at night a few times. I was like, oh, so he been holding back, trying to make sure he got a trump card as well. No pun intended. So he was like, I got shit I could tell too. You ain't the only one in here that can pull that boss card. And she was like, okay, well, let's go on and go over there to Dikahn and see what he got to say about it. So then Brother Lewis is like, hold on. Maybe we can make a deal, all right? I might as well tell you this as well. The highest is making a whole lot of damn money. And she was like, okay, what you talking about? He was like, we think, he has about 300 grand in his trailer. There are some people here that, they want to get that money. And she was like, what? Hold on, your ass ain't only around here getting it on with everybody on the daggone compound, but you're a traitor. I was like, come on, Ruth. Come on, Ruth. So she was like, I'm definitely going to tell the highest now. I was like, come on, Ruth. So then Brother Lewis, after she gets done getting into his business, he's like, damn, I shouldn't say shit. But I feel the same way. Ruth needs to let all of this go. So anyway, man, we head over to the infirmary where we see Lacey still laid up on the cot with their mother red on. And here comes the elder mother herself. I'm sorry, the elder mother supreme coming in herself with a plate of food. And she was like, oh, it's dinner time. You need your strength. So the elder mother is super excited right now because the highest has given her permission to pretty much do as she please with, with Lacey. So right now, she was like, you need to go ahead and eat your food. And Lacey is like, well, oh, the mother, you got me locked up. She was like, oh, yes, I'm sorry, I forgot the key or whatnot. So Mother Misery right here decided to let her know that these chains that you currently wearing right now, these things ain't going nowhere. Like, you're going to be wearing these for the rest of your time. So you will never be without chains ever again in your life. And I was like, what? And she was like, hold on. What are you talking about, elder mother? She was like, oh, no, you getting ready to go on a marathon. I was like, she getting ready to run a race, Martha? She was like, oh, no, you getting ready to go on a marathon. I was like, what? She said, I have elder men that want to see you. So Lacey is like, what? Like, for real? She was like, yeah, so after dinner, we will start the ritual. I said, I be John Brown, bro. So the elder mother has already put it into plan and everything is ready to go. Obviously, it didn't take long to pull these jokers' legs out here to go ahead and do what they needed to do with old girl Lacey. So now Lacey is like, please, I don't want to do that. And so like, oh, child, you have no choice. I was like, come on, Marva. Like, something has to be done about the elder mother supreme right now because she is getting out of control. I don't know about y'all, but I'm just saying, Marva, I don't know, like I said earlier in this review, I don't know who's worst. I really don't. Either it's Ruth or is Marva at this moment. Like, there's nothing that she will not do, number one, for the highest, and definitely when she's trying to get payback. I mean, the look on her face, the pleasure that she's getting right now from torturing this young lady is ridiculous. And then she says, do you want to take some of that happy candy? And Lacey is like, what the hell are you talking about? And so like, oh, it's on the plate. Go ahead and take some. It'll make it a lot easier for you. And Lacey is like, no, I don't want none of that shit. She was like, okay, suit yourself. That's a lot of pounding. And I was like, come on. She was like, I'm in pain, elder mother. And elder mother was like, look, you were shot in your chest, not the bottom. She said, not the bottom part, though. Like, the bottom part is still functioning, old girl. The top part is the part that's injured. She was like, I can't take the weight. She said, oh, they're not even going to see your face, child. I was like, come on. So anyway, man, look, going on from there, we head back over to the sheriff's office. Well, we see the two, prime FBI agents pretty much flirting with one another. And he pretty much conveys to her that he's horny at this moment. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. What are we doing here? So she said, well, not here. But I did manage to get us an adjoining, hotel room or whatnot. And he was like, well, I'm used to that, right? So while they're in the midst of flirting with one another off and on, the guy that came over randomly previously, he then comes over to give his one line once again. We just got a call from Senator Poland's office, and it's about his son. So I'm like, okay, well, who's his son? Well, his son just so happens to be brother Aaron, right? So Aaron, when he was conveying all that information that my folks are people of power, I can get you whatever you need, when the highest was pretty much, declining his offer, he was pretty much telling the truth, but he did not allude to the fact that his father happened to be a senator. All right, so I'm intrigued right now where this is going to go. So they asked him, well, is he up there at the compound? And he was like, well, both he and his wife are missing, and they were supposed to be headed that way up there to see the highest. So Desiree is like, well, how do you know they're up there? Where he was like, well, there's only one cell tower in this area or whatnot. So obviously when he called, that's what they're pinging it off of. So Desiree is like, let's go ahead and head up there. Kyle is like, we don't have probable cause or a warrant to go up there. And then he also didn't say that they were up there for sure. And she was like, look, that's a sitting senator right now that has called about his son being lost and potentially going up there to the compound. I asked this is going down there, and you need to go ahead and head up there with me. So Kyle, of course, he don't want to mess up nothing because he got that adjoining room next door, so he don't want to mess up nothing for what he got going on later on tonight. So he gonna make sure he follows suit, all right? So anyway, that's pretty much the end of the episode. Man, what are your thoughts? I honestly believe that this was a pretty decent episode. It gave me a lot to, to sink my teeth in a little bit. I think with Marva, or as we call her, the elder mother, her character is becoming more profound. I know it's the highest that's running everything, but I'm noticing the slight shift in control, how he's giving control to other people. So he's not necessarily, the quote unquote, the end all, the be all in this situation as he was before. And we're seeing a lot more people becoming more prominent in the compound. So what are your thoughts? What did you think about the whole situation that went down with Manny, from the situation with Zane? Do you think Zane is going to end up getting into, some deep trouble due to her lack of discretion when it comes to Lacey? I believe her ass is going to end up in a punishment trailer sooner than later because she's young, dumb, and on fire for whatever she's, her belief is, but she just does not know who she's effing around with. And I'm going to leave it at that, man. Thank you guys for checking out this review. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.